A single piece of evidence left behind at a crime scene contains so much DNA that prosecutors call it catastrophic for the defense. This is how genetic genealogy solved the Idaho 4 murders in record time. On November 13th, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students were brutally murdered in their off-campus home. Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Chapin. The killer left behind a single clue that would lead investigators directly to his door. This is the DNA evidence that solved the case. When investigators processed the King Road house, they found a leather knife sheath next to Madison Mogen's body on the 3rd floor. The sheath had a U.S. Marine Corps insignia, but no knife. What they found on that sheath changed everything. The DNA wasn't trace amounts. It wasn't touched DNA that defense attorneys could challenge. Prosecutors described it as catastrophic evidence, meaning the quantity and quality were so overwhelming that it was virtually impossible to dispute. But finding DNA is only step one. The real breakthrough was what happened next. Traditional DNA databases only work if the suspect's DNA is already in the system. Bryan Kohberger had no criminal record, and his DNA wasn't in Cody's, the FBI's criminal database. So investigators turned to a newer tool: investigated genetic genealogy. They uploaded the crime scene DNA profile to public genealogy databases, specifically GeneMatch Pro and Family Tree DNA. These databases contain DNA from millions of people who've taken ancestry tests. The DNA didn't match Kohberger directly, but matched distant relatives who had uploaded their DNA to find cousins and trace family trees. Investigators built a family tree backward, identifying common ancestors and working forward to find potential suspects. Within weeks, that family tree led them to Bryan Kohberger, a 28-year-old PhD student in criminology at Washington State University, just 10 miles from the crime scene. But genetic genealogy alone isn't enough for an arrest. Investigators needed to confirm the match. They conducted surveillance on Kohberger and collected DNA from trash at his family's Pennsylvania home during the holidays. That trash DNA matched the knife sheath DNA. Then, after his arrest, a cheek swab provided the definitive confirmation. The DNA evidence was so strong that Kohberger's defense team filed multiple motions to exclude it, and every single motion was denied. The courts ruled the DNA collection was legal. The genetic genealogy methods were scientifically sound, and the match was undeniable. Most murder cases have touched DNA, tiny amounts that could be explained by innocent contact. This case had what forensic experts call source DNA, abundant biological material that could only be explained by direct involvement. The knife sheath wasn't just touched by the killer. It was carried by the killer, used by the killer, and left behind by the killer. And that sheath was covered in Bryan Kohberger's DNA.
Drama in court as Bryan Kohberger pleads guilty to stabbing 4 University of Idaho students to death.
The murder of Madison Mogen, how do you plead guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
For the murder of Kaylee Goncalves, how do you plead guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
The murder of Xana Kernodle, a human being, how do you plead guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
The murder of Chapin, a human being, how do you plead guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
In July 2025, facing this overwhelming evidence, Kohberger pleaded guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder. He received 4 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. No trial was necessary. The DNA told a complete story. Before we close, let's remember why this case mattered. For young people with their entire lives ahead of them. Kaylee Goncalves, 21, was weeks from graduating and moving to Texas for her dream job. Madison Mogen, also 21, was Kaylee's best friend and roommate, studying marketing. Xana Kernodle, 20, fought back against her attacker, warning others in the house that somebody's here. Chapin, 20, was Xana's boyfriend, visiting for the weekend. The DNA evidence didn't just solve a case. It brought answers to 4 families who deserve justice. Genetic genealogy is revolutionizing how we solve cold cases. If you want to see another DNA breakthrough case, watch our investigation into Nicole Austin, a woman who remained unidentified for 16 years, while her partner lived under her stolen identity. What case should we cover next? Drop your suggestions in the comments. And if this breakdown helped you understand how modern forensics works, hit subscribe. New investigations every week.